The text that I'm choosing to analyze for this project, I narrowed down all forms of media and broadcast journalism, specifically to NBC's nightly news, it had the lowest number of broadcasted minutes regarding the Afghanistan war. So I figured if I could really focus on that central form, then I would have a lot of an easier time developing hypothesis and analyzing results rather than on a very broad and general spectrum. The theoretical perspective I'm using to analyze my research is the functionalist perspective, and that basically, when broken down, just defines how society is dependent upon many other variables, and vice versa, those variables are dependent upon society. So it's kind of how everything kind of comes full circle, and I'm relating that to how, as a society, obviously we rely on the news for information. That's how we relate to other people, and news companies rely on society for kind of their input, their attention, and it kind of reflects what we talked about last chapter with the audience being the producer. Without audience interaction and engagement, the media companies, the news, broadcasting, they wouldn't be so successful without the attention from an audience. And again, I feel like this kind of relates to what I'm researching in this paper because it's a perfect example of how society was dependent upon a news source for information regarding the Afghanistan war, and the media was just not coming through. Society had a lot of complaints and demands regarding it. So since CBS News, the evening news, had the lowest number of airtime, it was 51 minutes within a full year, the year 2008, I am going to take that news source and compare what they talked about, compare it to other news sources, see how maybe some of the stories were similar, how they were different, and by doing this, I may be able to filter out, kind of narrow down the number of possible theories, because a lot of journalists have argued that the lack of coverage was stemmed upon a lack of interest in the war from the public, and there were statistics I had seen that had said only 1/4 of Americans have really paid attention and were devoted to information pertaining to the war. So I think by comparing it between other news sources and maybe broadcast journalism versus like print journalism and in newspapers, I'll be able to kind of refine my theory. And so finally my hypothesis was basically just how national interest can be a result of the amount, whether it's filling or lacking, the coverage that's broadcasted. So because of possible budget limitations and just general lack of attention based on the war, that could be a possible explanation for the lack. The articles that I read, they were all very similar with a few different focuses. The first one was about, it was just an analysis of war coverage presented on NBC versus Fox. 46% of stories were related to enemy attacks. The rest were kind of just centralized on American victories and really like U.S. victories. The second article focused on how this news was relayed in other regions, other countries in the world, and how that differed depending on the way it was presented in the U.S. Obviously, different regions which have different associations with the war are going to present different news that kind of, glamorize and publicize their victories and their successes as opposed to everybody celebrating American victories. And finally, the last article was just about how veterans feel regarding the coverage of the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan in the media. They basically described that they don't think it's an accurate representation, and that was kind of a central idea throughout all of the scholarly articles I had read. Everybody feels it's being underplayed.